Hello and welcome to DB Photos. My name is Diane. I am the photographer and the person running this account. I mostly post short form YouTube shorts of photographs that I have photographed, but interspersed in, I do have a few ideas for longer format videos like this that I do want to share. So I wanted to start that with introducing myself, my background in photography, and sort of my purpose for this channel. So first and foremost, let me start by saying one of my biggest goals for this channel is to encourage other people. I meet so many people every day when I'm out walking and they want to talk about photography. They want to show me their photos. And I love that, by the way. And a lot of them take really good photos, but they always end the conversation with, well, I don't have a nice camera like yours, so my photos aren't that great. Or I tell them, like, your photos are really good. And they're like, well, no, it's just a phone camera. So I'm hoping to share enough information here on this channel over time that will help people to continue growing as a photographer, no matter what gear they have, no matter where they're at, because we all start somewhere. And I just want to encourage people to pursue their passion in photography. So let me backtrack for just a minute and going back to myself. From a very young age, I was obsessed with cameras and photographs, and I don't really know where that came from. It was just there. Growing up as a kid, my parents had two Polaroid cameras. There was like the standard one, I think most people know, where the picture is like a square and a white border, and then there's the space at the bottom where you can write information about the photo. But they also had another one that I have never seen outside of the one that they had. I'm thinking maybe it was an older version, and the photos looked like normal photos, but it would come out of the camera all like wrapped up and sealed up, and it had to sit for a certain amount of time. And then you would like unpeel it all and unwrap it, and there was your photo. Whereas the other one, you could sit and watch it develop. This one developed secretly in a little package, but it was kind of fun to unwrap that package. So I grew up with those, and I really wanted a camera. I remember when I was young asking for a camera. And of course, film is not cheap. My parents were like, no way, you're going to waste it photographing, your toys and stuff. And most likely I would have. But I do remember taking my very first photograph. We were at Sequoia National Park, like my favorite place in the world. And I took a picture of my dad. They did allow me to do that, and I still have that picture. I'm still very proud of that picture. And I feel like that was my very beginning in photography. So I did continue to want a camera of my own and to be able to take pictures whenever I wanted. And that didn't happen until I was a teenager. I got a camera for Christmas one year. I think it was Kodak. I honestly can't remember. And I remember everything being like so far from the camera, like, and I would have to move really close to everything. I have no idea like what kind of millimeter range that would have been at, but it was really far. It felt like a really wide angle type of camera. And I remember thinking, or maybe saying, that I wish it had a zoom on it. And I honestly don't even know how I knew about a zoom lens at that time, but I had probably seen it in movies or something. But yes, I was already wanting a zoom. So then somewhere in my late 20s, as the internet was a thing and you could shop on the internet, I went on there, I think on eBay, and I got myself a camera. It was an Olympus. It was still very small. It took 35 millimeter film, but it had a little zoom lens on there, which I just loved. I honestly did not know about SLR cameras or DSLR cameras. Had I known, I probably would have gotten one, but honestly, I don't know if I would have been able to figure out how to use it because I'm old and internet didn't exist back when I was young. And I don't know, that would have been really hard without YouTube tutorials, figuring out all of the photography stuff. And I was actually very resistant to digital cameras. I wanted film, I wanted physical photographs that I would develop and keep. And I was pretty stubborn on that until I started using cell phone cameras more. That sort of ushered me into the age of digital cameras, and I started learning to accept it. And then in Christmas of 2017, my husband and son gave me my first nice camera. It's a DSLR camera. And this is it right here. So I will be doing a video on this particular camera coming up, and then on the various lenses I use. But I will say something I kept hearing over and over, and it's so true, is the camera doesn't make the photographer. You can't just put a great camera in someone's hand and they instantly make great photographs. But a great photographer can take a great photograph on any camera. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, because when people show me their photographs and I say that's great, and they always follow up with like, oh, it's not as good as your pictures because it's just a phone camera. Granted, my camera, especially with this lens that I use, can get pictures much more close up with a lot more detail. But what makes a great picture? Is it more close up and lots of detail? It's really not. It's the overall composition of the photograph, the lighting, the harmony, symmetry, like all of those things working together to make a really good photograph. So you don't have to have a great camera to make a great photograph. It's nice, it's helpful, it is very aesthetically pleasing to see more detail in the photo, but it's not necessarily a requirement. And I definitely recommend starting on something else before you go and invest in a really nice camera. Learn on composition and that sort of thing first. And then when you move into a nicer camera, trust me, there are more things you need to learn, and you can focus on those things when you already know the basics. So before I had this DSLR camera, I did take pictures on a pretty regular basis. And there were many times I tried to look into learning more about photography and reading about it and trying to understand without being able to see it like on the actual camera, because I didn't have that kind of camera at the time I was reading these things. I could not comprehend what they were talking about with, aperture and shutter speed and ISO, and I would get lost and I would just kind of give up and go back to just taking my pictures, which was fine for that situation, I have to say. But once I got this camera, I really needed to learn those settings. And so being able to look at it on the camera and understand what they're talking about really did help. I was able to, make adjustments to the aperture and the shutter speed and the ISO, and to see what effect that had on my photographs. This particular camera, I will be doing a video on it coming up, but it has an automatic mode. This is a great beginner camera, but this camera doesn't just have one automatic mode. It actually has a whole bunch of choices of automatic modes. And I honestly only used them for the first few days of owning this camera because I wanted to master learning how to do it myself. And so the first few days I went around and took a lot of photographs, and I looked at using all those different modes, and I would look at what the camera chose, what settings the camera was choosing itself in those automatic modes. And then I learned, I used that, I looked at that and analyzed that and said, why did it choose that? And I was learning, and then I started trying it out myself. I was also watching tons of YouTube videos, and I found a book. I don't know if it's still out there. If it is, I will put a link in the description box. But I found this book that, because I'm a book person, I prefer to read things, but I found it very challenging in this regard. And so I found a book that you could read, and then there was a QR code to take you to a YouTube video talking about what you had just read about. So it combined a book with visuals, and that was like the perfect combination for me, and that helped me so much. And that exact situation reminds me of a line from a movie. You may or may not have seen it, but it's called Where the Heart Is. And there's a scene, the main character of the movie is at a library, and she's looking in books about photography. She's trying to learn, and she's getting really frustrated and thinking it's because she's stupid. And the guy, he's the librarian, he tells her, well, maybe this is something that's hard to learn from books. I mean, it's photography, meaning that it's visual, and that can be hard to just read about, right? And that is honestly really true. I love that line. I love that reference. Keep that in mind as you're trying to learn photography, because I'm a book person. I love learning from books, blogs, things like that. but there are certain subjects where it becomes hard to just read about it. One other thing I will suggest for improving is getting into some sort of photography challenge. I used to find some on Instagram, and there would be like a challenge for the month. Every day of the month, there was a different theme, and you had to come up with a photograph to match that theme. And it really did push me out of my comfort zone and get me to photograph very new and different types of things. And it was really fun, and it really got me going, because it's so easy to just pick up the camera and photograph what you are interested in and what you gravitate towards naturally. And something like that will really push you to do other things and to learn how to. I learned so much from doing that. I did them multiple times over and over. I would find them. I'm sure you could like Google something. It was fun to do one on Instagram like that, because then I could go look at what other people were doing. And I only looked after I did mine. I didn't want to be influenced by what other people did, but it was so fun to see all the different interpretations of a theme. So I will say, having a DSLR camera, I mean, there's mirrorless cameras now, but having a nicer camera, for lack of a better term, did change my photography in some ways. I used to mostly do landscapes, because I couldn't get up close, couldn't get that much detail. So I loved doing a lot of landscape type photography, and I do love doing portraits. But having this camera, I have been able to branch out, and I think it kind of just started in my backyard. I would see birds and I would start photographing them. And I really enjoy the challenge, because they move quickly, they don't like the camera, so they're trying to avoid you. And that challenge, that like, oh, I got it, I love that moment. I love photography in general, just for capturing a moment, capturing a memory, like forever like that. But when it comes to nature and wildlife, it's kind of that like, there's a rush that I get from nailing it and getting the moment that I wanted to get. One of the biggest things I see is people are like, I just got this camera. What lens should I buy? And personally, I always see people throwing out what they love. And number one, it's what are you going to photograph? But more important than that, if you're just starting, if this is your first nice camera and you're just starting, you may not know what you want to photograph yet. So I always recommend hold off. Just start with those kit lenses that came with your camera and just start exploring, trying all kinds of things, push yourself beyond what you normally would do and find out what you like the best. I love portraits. I love nature, wildlife, but I have also gotten into macro photography. I really enjoy that too. So those are kind of my areas that I really love. As time went on, I also love walking, and I didn't really connect my walking with my photography for quite a while. And I would be on walks and I would be seeing birds. I was actually training my ear to find the birds, based on the sound, narrowing down where the sound is coming from and finding those birds. And then eventually I thought I should just bring my camera and start trying to photograph these birds. And I did. And it just really became a whole new hobby for me, the walking and photography combined. And in addition to training my ear, I have really trained my eye to notice motion, to look for shapes, colors, that sort of thing. There's a lot to looking for birds and making sure you notice the birds. And that's something people always tell me when I'm passing them by walking. They're like, how do you even see these things? Most people just walk on by and never even notice those critters that I have my eyes so tuned to. And I will encourage you as well to not quit. I would say, don't compare yourself to other photographers. You are going to have your own style, and you're going to improve on that style. That's what's most important. And I will say, if you find that your camera is sitting, like I know so many people who have really nice cameras and it's too much effort for them to figure out how to use it and it just sits, or, they don't really know what to photograph, like get it out. Find photo challenges. If you find that you're in that boat, go find photo challenges. Start challenging yourself and get yourself using that camera, because experience with the camera is what's going to make you grow as a photographer and get better. Experience, like anything in life, experience is the greatest source of learning and getting wisdom. Just going through stuff, using it, making mistakes. Like, do not be afraid to make mistakes, because it's from those mistakes that you're going to learn. Those are the greatest learning moments ever. And again, so many people think they need really good gear. I am here to tell you, you start with whatever you have. And honestly, even this camera, if you know cameras, everybody's going to tell you, you can't do bird photography with this camera. Well, I'm doing it. And it may not look as great as someone with a much better camera or better lens, but I'm doing it. I think I'm doing good for the equipment I have, and I love doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. And I do hope to get a better camera and a better lens, but I'm going to keep doing it as long as I have this camera and this lens. So I encourage you to not hold yourself back because of a lack of gear. The gear does not make the photographer. I will definitely cover this more in future videos when I talk about my camera and my different lenses and gear that I use. But I did not buy a lens for my camera for a whole year. I spent a whole year just working with my camera with the 2 kit lenses that it came with before I spent money on a lens. And I really think that's good to do. Just improve yourself generally before you take that step. And I personally didn't want to end up with like a whole bunch of lenses that I never use. I wanted to be very specific and have things that I really needed and I was really going to use. And I really work off of 4 lenses, and I will be doing videos on those lenses. But I was looking at my photography, looking for sort of gaps, I would say, or areas that I was struggling, that a specific lens would help fix that struggle or fill that gap. That's what I chose to do. And I do really recommend that. It will save you money. It will save you from having clutter. I know people who just end up with tons and tons of lenses. And then it's like, how do you choose? Like, I guarantee you there's a whole bunch of lenses you aren't using on a regular basis. And so my 4 lenses I do use. I've obviously, this is the one I use for my nature and wildlife, so it gets used the most, but I am using all 4 of my lenses very, very regularly. In my final words of encouragement, I just want to tell you, if you're thinking about starting, do it now. Stop putting it off. Just do it. Take that step, whatever step that may be, and then just keep taking step after step after step. And keep in mind that you don't need permission to be a photographer. You don't need a degree. You just go and you keep getting better. You keep improving in time. And it's not like you get to this point where you're like, oh, now I'm a photographer. No, you're going to keep improving like forever. It's like pretty much everything in life. We are at the beginning of a brand new year. People are making a lot of resolutions. So I encourage you to make a resolution to take a photograph every single day for the next 30 days. At least one photograph. You could do more, but one really, really good one. Just photograph whatever's around you, you know, your pets, your family, your garden, your whatever, and lighting. Look for good lighting, because I tell you, what makes a good picture a great picture is almost always lighting. And when you're photographing outside, that's really hard. You really have to get your timing right and the right locations and the right spots. You can't control it, but you use what you have. And if you're indoors, especially if you have a studio, you fully control the lighting. If you're outdoors, you have to be creative and learn how to work with the lighting that you have available. And I think I said it earlier, but one more time, I'm going to say that experience is so important. That is going to be your biggest teacher. So that's why it's important to just keep taking those pictures. Keep going. Even if you feel like you're not improving, you feel like nothing's changing, keep pushing through. Look for photo challenges, whatever. Just keep going. Do not quit. And this is where I would absolutely love to hear from you in the comment section down below. Tell me where you're at, your background, what camera you have and have had, what camera you want to get. I want to hear all of it. I would love that so much. So I invite you, I encourage you, and I thank you for that. And I definitely welcome you to continue watching this channel and the photos that I take, and you can watch me improve in time as well. And my final encouraging word for you is that photography didn't change overnight for me, but showing up did. And if you love it, if you're passionate about it, that really is enough. And that's enough reason for you to begin and keep pushing through. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and please consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much. Have a great day and God bless you.